Good evening and welcome to our Smyrna Town Council October meeting. Our first item of business tonight is Charles King is going to do a presentation on our gateway signs. Charles, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mayor.
Wonderful.
Thanks for taking this opportunity to kind of give you an update on the gateway signs that we're proposing. This first slide shows the two existing signs that we have on Lowry Street, which is State Route 1. The top one is coming in from Laverne, and then the second one is the one coming in from Murfreesboro. Back in March of '23, we hired a CESO consultants to design our new signs, and then the TDOT application was sent in June of '23, and then we did our TDOT license agreement in June of '24. And now we're currently getting ready to finalize these plans. So that's why we wanted to bring it to you at this time to get your consideration of it. The next slide here shows the illustration of what it looks like. The signs are located inside the TDOT right-of-way. The signs have to be 30 foot clear from the edge of pavement to the clear zone line, which is right next to where you see the sign there. And also the distance that we have between that clear zone and the right-of-way is only 5 feet 2 inches. So that's kind of why we have a tall, skinny sign to get it out of the ditch area, the low, and get it up to the road level. On the next is the sign details, which a lot of that's hard to see, but you'll see that the sign is 4 feet 11 inches wide, and it's 10 feet 6 inches tall. It will have low voltage lighting, and on the south side coming in from Murfreesboro, we'll be using Middle Tennessee Electric, and the electric's already there at that location. But on the north side, we'll have to get with NES to bring power into the sign on that side of the town. This next one shows pretty much kind of a layout of what we are proposing. I think the message is clear, it's concise. The stone is local, it's from the Rock Place where those photos are from, so we'll be using the local stone from there. And the sign face itself is aluminum with raised black letters. Our consultant, we were going to do the etched limestone like we have done like at a lot of our park signs, but they felt that this has better maintenance on it since it is a location that will be harder to get out there and maintain and keep clean. And their research showed that this is a less maintenance, so it will withstand more being along a roadway. As you can see, the sign face will be white and have the raised black letters. And the town, one thing we did is keeping it just Town of Smyrna, established 1869. Its town will be, those letters will be 5 inches tall, and Smyrna will be 8-inch letters, and established will be 5-inch letters. Since it will be 30 foot off the roadway, and you're going to be traveling about 45 miles an hour. So that's why we limited the verbiage on the sign. The next slide kind of shows you an example of what we're looking at. You can see how it stands out, and then the side view shows you how they are raised on the aluminum face. So that's what we're looking at, and just looking for any comments before we kind of do our finalized design. But these are kind of our prototypes because we know the town limits on Lowry aren't changing, so we're starting with those, and then we'll look how these go, and we will go from there if we for future signs at any other locations.
Questions or comments? I know originally when we talked about this, it was quite a while ago, but comments for Charles?
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments. The white portion of the sign, did you say it was going to be aluminum?
Yes, the sign face will be aluminum, and the letterings will be aluminum also.
So that white won't stain as bad if it
No,
was.
that's what our consultants have found out, that will weather better where the limestone will kind of get the black running on it some and just harder to keep clean.
And
So-
then the other question, is it Centurion stone or true stone?
It's true stone.
Okay.
Like I said, it's rock place. Like I
Okay.
said, it's native limestone
Okay.
or cut limestone
Because
for
I've
the
had
arches.
experience with a Centurion that it will eventually fall off.
Yeah, no, this is going to be true stone.
Okay,
And it will have a structural base behind it. It will be reinforced, and they had a structural engineer do the plans for the center core of the sign for that.
Charles, is that, you mentioned lighting, is that ground lighting?
Yeah, be ground lighting going up on, be a low voltage ground lighting. But it will, instead of using solar panels, we will hardwire it, which the one on the Murfreesboro south side will be easy since it's already there. North side, we'll have to work with NES to get a pole and a drop down to it.
So the lettering. Can I go?
Ladies first.
Okay, so the lettering on the sign, what's the rationale behind them being the different inches? the
Just
different letter-
make it
Right.
stand out. If could go back a couple of slides there, please. Okay, I don't have the, right, it's just the font, it's just trying to make it stand out. Like I said, you want Smyrna to stand out more, so that's why the different sizes on that. Just have Smyrna, which is your main point you want to get across is
'Cause you
that.
said
So
that's
that's why
8.
it's the larger 8-inch letters.
And then the town is 5, and then the of.
Of
and-
is 3-inch, and then the established is 5. So that balances the top and the bottom.
Okay.
The location of the sign on the north side of town, was that right next to where that small sign is today, or?
Yes, it'll be in that location. We'll have to do a little clearing down in there. And like I said, it's down in, so that's kind of why we've got while they're kind of a tall, skinny, to bring it up to eye level.
and that won't be in a location of any of that work at Jefferson Pike.
No, it's way further
Okay.
down. No, it will not be within that. Like I said, it's just not too far past that last auto shop there as you come in, but there is an existing Smyrna sign at that location.
Other questions? Timeline that we're kind of looking at?
With this, if council, if you're all good with it, we'll go ahead and be finishing up our construction plans and start working on getting the bid book together. So hopefully in the next couple of months, we can get it out for advertisement.
Great. Thanks, Charles.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, item 1 on our agenda is public comment. The town's public comment period shall be reserved for those citizens that have signed up to address the town council or a board or committee at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting pursuant to our town's public comment policy as outlined above on the agenda. We do have 3 people for public comment tonight. A couple of things in case you've not spoken before council, if you'll just come to the podium to speak. If when you come to the podium, you'll give us your name, your address, and if you live in the town limits. And Miss Amber's pretty good at making sure you're right at 3 minutes, so she will let you know that. And those that are in the audience, I ask that we all be respectful and that we're not going to cheer and we're not going to clap, and everybody's going to have a chance to have their say. So our first one is Leanna Levitt.
Good evening. My name is Leanna Levitt. I live at 212 Meridian Drive in Smyrna. Thank you for taking the time to, within the city limits.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with several of us from the Saddle Grove community located in Smyrna off Rocky Fork and Almaville Road. We truly appreciate your willingness to listen and to work with us toward solutions regarding our shared concerns. I would like to publicly ask for this council to direct city planning staff to deny this PRD zoning amendment request for tax map 54, page 8, parcel 18, for the main reason that it did not give nearby members of the community to come before you to express their concerns. We were told by city staff that they would be handling this decision internally since the request was lessening the number of homes to be built and would not affect the community in a negative manner. While part of this is true, they are lessening the number of homes and increasing common area as it was, that they discovered they could not develop on a sheer cliff. It is not true that this amendment request will not affect members on the community, or in and around the community, I should say, specifically the residents of Saddle Grove, as it decreased a previously approved 15-foot tree buffer between our property lines with the PERD that was approved either November or December, around that time, 2024. So as members of this council, citizens of the community should be considered in the planning and development of these communities and how quality of life will be affected in and around Smyrna and all of Tennessee. Property owners who choose to sell their large parcels of land and developers who choose to purchase and complete the development process, most of them do not stick around, and we are left to deal with the problems that arise after they are gone. So quality of life with dynamite blasting is a concern that was just raised with me today. I was sitting out on my porch around 11 a.m., and I felt the tremor of a blast 2 miles away through my concrete. So this development right above me will require significant dynamiting. That's less than 2 miles away. That would be more like 50 to 100 yards. So that quality of life will affect me and all of our surrounding community greatly, as well as the 55-plus community, which is where they were blasting earlier today. I would also like to state that this amendment request.
3 minutes, Mayor.
Is
Thank
that
you,
it?
Miss- That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I do have a petition with dozens of names to request that
Okay,
this
and
be
if you want to
amended.
give that to Amber,
I
she will
will.
make sure to have that.
Right now or after?
You can give it now if you want. Okay, our next speaker is it Tanya Hadley? Yes. Great, if you'll come forward and if you'll state your name, your address, and if you live in the town limits.
Good evening. I'm Tanya Hadley, and I live in the town limits of Smyrna at 216 Meridian Drive off of Saddle Grove Community. I know I've talked to many of you before over the last month and a half through emails, past council meetings, and with the Planning Commission over the last month. We've had a lot of conversation and finally some more clarity what's actually happening, as Leanna mentioned, at Rocky Fork PRD and the development plans across our property. Our concern remains the same of the loss of the tree buffer that separates our neighborhood from the future development. For now, we know that the intent of the developer, Blue River and Catalyst, is to demolish the tree line, as Leanna has mentioned, and their idea is to put a landscape buffer in between, as noted in the approved plans for the council. But this developer proposed the development back in November 2024 and quietly swept under the radar they were going to remove all the trees. We know this because it came as a surprise to the Planning Commission and Mr. Rigsby and his team when he met with the Catalyst Group just 2 weeks ago. We're now being told that the approved plans and the engineering would be necessary to require to move all trees to build this development, which is really interesting to us because the Catalyst Design Group has already asked for amendments prior to, as they want to build these premium lots Leanna mentioned. So they're basically making larger premium lots, taking away lots that they cannot build to still hit their margins. They've clearly showed us the motivation for this amendment to make development changes to number of lots, tree sizes, and tree buffers. They can do it, but they only do it at the expense of their best interests and never taking in consideration the neighboring communities of Smyrna. Over the weekend, as Leanna mentioned, we actually held a community meeting, and Amber and the council will see we have almost 50 signatures from just our community and the community over amending this PRD to keep our 25-foot buffer. We understand you're currently working with the Catalyst Design Group to find an equitable compromise, and shout out to Steve Sullivan personally for taking the lead on that. We know that the PRD can be amended in your recommendation. Again, we're asking for a responsible solution to maintain 25 feet that would keep our quality of life, privacy, home values, as I've mentioned in a lot of these emails, and wildlife habitat intact. Just in closing, thank you for continuing to listen and consider a path forward that helps Smyrna and our community grow growing responsible. But more important, holding this developer and other developers accountable in the area and not allowing them to proceed unchecked or make changes that disregard our community impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last I have Eric Chenoweth. If you'll state your name, address, and if you live inside the town limits.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Eric Chenoweth. I live on 109 Candidate Court, which is within the city limits of Smyrna. Mayor Reed, council members, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow Smyrna residents, good evening. I'm going to take a little different approach. This is on the same topic. I just recently found out about it on Friday, so didn't have time to memorize my little speech here, but bear with me. So imagine waking up to the chatter of northern cardinals and ruby-throated hummingbirds, not the roar of bulldozers, then the deafening silence of no more wildlife. I'm requesting that you pass a motion or directive that requires the land developer adjacent to Saddle Grove community to maintain a native buffer zone. Our central basin woodlands, streams, and fields aren't just scenery. They're lifelines for over 300 bird species protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918. From northern cardinals and Carolina chickadees to summer migrants like ruby-throated hummingbirds, scarlet tanagers, and yellow warblers flittering through native trees, these neotropical travelers use our greenways as vital stopovers during spring and fall migrations. But fragmentation from sprawl silences them, violating federal protections. Within these thriving tree habitats also give way to turkeys, wild beaver, and white-tailed deer. But unchecked development fragments these corridors, violating these federal laws and dooming biodiversity. For any federally funded or permitted project, the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, of 1969 demands environmental impact statements that analyze harms like habitat loss and require reasonable alternatives to minimize irreversible damage. I understand this is not a federal project, but you can observe the past precedents established through this act that currently is in place today. Native buffer zones, 50 to 100 foot preserved strip of trees, and we are asking for 25 feet. Shrubs and wildlife corridors between neighborhoods and new builds are that alternative. They restore connectivity, provide filter pollutants, manage stormwater, sequester carbon, and protect endangered species under the Endangered Species Act. Buffers have been shown to even boost property values 10 to 20% per the National Association of Realtors studies, and shield you from liabilities like erosion claims or nuisance wildlife backlash. Public comment periods under NEPA give us a voice. Let's collaborate on tree protection and wildlife management plans with no net loss commitments. Smyrna, our native trees and wildlife, quality of life for our friends, families, and neighbors deserve buffers as resilient green lungs. My fellow residents and I are looking for you to delay any final plans and save local green space through local ordinances tied to federal compliance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kevin, would you mind kind of coming and giving us a history of how this project came to be and where we're at currently?
Yeah, this project probably originally came in maybe a year or more ago originally and never really was acted on by the council at all. They withdrew it at that time and then came back last fall and came through the process, was actually ultimately approved by this council in January for the 83 lots and on the 20, so just under 30 acres of property.
That was second reading.
The second reading was in January. First reading was in December.
Okay.
And so that was approved, and then essentially I didn't hear from the developer since that time until, August timeframe. I received a request to consider an amendment to that, which would, by reducing the number of lots from 83 to 73, and did increase the open space area. And so, and began reviewing that based on the guidelines that the council 20 years ago adopted into the zoning ordinance. It met the criteria for something that staff could review administratively. We've been doing that. We've added one of the things that the buffer that was shown on the original plan didn't meet the requirements of that original buffer, and so we had them add that back in. After meeting with some of the neighbors in Saddle Grove, we did approach them, and they did agree to add back an additional 10 feet, so 25 feet total. However, that was proposed to be planting new trees, not keeping the existing trees. And there was nothing within the original PRD that required a maintenance of the existing tree line or anything like that, just that there would be a buffer there.
Okay, so before you move on from that, so in what you've gotten them to agree on in the current amendment is a 25-foot buffer, but it is new trees.
Correct.
But what was in the original PRD that was approved?
15,
And that also was new trees?
yes. Again, it wasn't clear in the one way or the other, and looked at it. I know other staff within the town, engineering staff, looked at it as well, and looked at the difficulty, I guess, of developing that site and keeping that buffer, I guess, was what was brought up. So that amendment is there. I have not approved it yet. It's because it's just one of the things on my list still to do. I just haven't, with some time off last week and different things, it hasn't got done yet. So it has not been approved yet. So if the council wants me to direct it to the planning commission, we can still certainly do that. Having said that, the developer has already indicated to me, or that his representation with Catalyst has indicated to me, that they would probably just withdraw the amendment in that case.
That was my next
That-
question. If it's already approved with a 15-foot new tree buffer, that's approved.
Right.
So they're dropping 10 lots, correct? In the amendment,
In the amendment.
and
correct.
adding 10 more feet of new trees
Correct.
And more open space.
and more open space. So
You guys actually have an email I just sent you, because I just got it, that says that from the developer, actually. And he also says that if the PRD is not approved, that he would continue to develop as is. And I just saw it, it came at 2:00 today, so I just forwarded it to all of you just a few minutes ago.
Which even if we asked for it to go back to planning and he pulls the amendment that he's asked for, it reverts back to the original approved PRD, and there's nothing
Right.
that we as council or planning can do.
We can't force him to amend his PRD.
So
Right.
I know at one time there was discussion about revisiting the grading to preserve that existing tree line. Has that been approached or
So
discussed?
that's also in the email. I asked him that in my meeting yesterday, and he is saying that, this is the Catalyst engineer, he is saying that the developer has, quoting him, "Developer has no option but to clear existing trees all the way to the property line in order to develop the lots with appropriate grading." That was the case in originally approved PRD, and it's still the case for the proposed amendment. Now, there is something in here that I want you to make sure and go back. He says in his email that there was no buffer in the original approval, and that they're adding 10 feet. So there's a little bit of a disconnect between 25 and 10, but just make sure
10 or
that that's.
15?
10 is what they're adding, 15 was what was originally
Adding,
approved.
okay.
But he is saying in this email there was nothing originally approved. So
Well-
he's actually saying 10.
Yeah.
So he
well-
thinks he's gonna get
That's what this
10.
email says, yeah.
to,
Well, no, there was landscaping shown on all around that site. So it was 15 feet. So, and that's why I made sure he went back to that when the amendment came in, because the amendment came in, it wasn't 15 feet. It was a much narrower strip.
is there any existing buffering on their lots?
The tree lines do back up
to our
property.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
I'm
You
asking
can't,
him.
yeah, sorry.
Is
I'll
there
have
any
to be
existing
forgiven.
lot, any of those existing lots
I don't believe,
that had any trees remaining on
I
those
think there
lots?
are, some of the lots do, but most of them do not. I think some of the lots,
Were there some there before it developed?
I'd have to go back and look at old aerial photographs. I
I
can't
know,
recall
put you
for
on the
sure
spot.
exactly. Of course, that didn't come in as a PRD, that's just a straight R3 development.
Right, okay.
I actually did that. I went to Google Street View and looked at 22 and 23. And in 22, actually, Miss Hadley, I used your address because that's the one I had. In 22, that lot was, that whole area was essentially a treed pasture. It wasn't woods, but there were trees everywhere. The developer that built Miss Hadley's property pretty much took out every tree and left nothing and built the houses on top of it. And now this is the second developer behind them that is wanting to do something similar, but they're saying they're gonna put trees back. In 23, her address shows no trees at all. So unfortunately, the developer that developed her lots and her neighborhood didn't include a buffer or really much of the trees at all.
Yeah, and with an R3 development, there was no requirement
Right.
It's not PRD.
from us to do that. And when the developer behind them came in, that was before we were in the process of amending our requirements.
This is prior to our adjustments that we just
Right.
made
It
in the
was
last
right-
few
It
months.
was going on pretty much at the same time, and so today, we would be looking certainly at a minimum of a 20-foot buffer there. But it was not required at that time, though it was shown. I mean, I disagree with your email that you received.
Yeah, no, I forwarded it to you just so you can make
Yeah.
sure you're on the same page.
Right.
I'm not arguing with you. I just want to make sure he knows what he's supposed
Yeah, I
to do.
understand, yeah, I understand that.
So if it was decided tonight that we said we don't want to do the amendment, then it's going to go back to 10 additional lots and only a buffer of 15 feet.
15 feet.
Okay? If you move forward with the amendment, it's going to be the 10 less lots with 25-foot buffer. But
Right.
either way, it's going to be buffer of new trees.
New trees, not existing trees.
I've got one question. Why is he bringing the amendment in? What was the reasoning?
I don't know this for certain. My assumption is it will be some less cost for him on the front end because he's going to be putting in less infrastructure and less roadway. And probably because the topography of that site is very difficult, the costs, the numbers are going to be about the same for him to build fewer homes with the less cost he would have in place to not get
So
those
he's
extra 10
basically
homes.
saying he's wanting to incur more cost if he has to withdraw his amendment. If that was reasoning for the.
If my assumption is correct,
Yeah.
then yeah, his costs would go up, but his bottom line, I don't know, maybe it'd be the same, I don't know. Again, I'm just, and
I
that's
understand.
speculative on my
I'm just trying to figure
part.
out why
Yeah.
the amendment came in the first place.
How does that, how does that work? Let's say we denied it and goes back to the 83 lots. What if he only develops 75 of those and just says the others are too costly, I'm not gonna develop them? Can the PRD be finished without those other lots being developed? Do we continue to hold a bond forever?
He could submit development plans to us as far as the actual plats and construction plans and build fewer lots. I mean, sure, he could do that.
I'm just
Not
thinking if
build
it's, let's
that
say it's a,
last street or something like that.
yeah,
you
let's
know.
say it's a 3-phase project, right? And he gets 2 phases in and decides that last 3rd phase is gonna run my cost up too much, I don't wanna do it. And he tried to reduce it and we didn't let him, could he just not do it? And what happens if he does that?
Technically, from a zoning standpoint, the entitlements would be there, but.
There's nothing requiring him to
He's not
develop.
gonna, you don't require to build out the whole site or whatever.
Yeah, so that, my thought process there is he would be cramming the lots, let's say he still did 73 on the original design, they would be much closer together rather than spread out.
Could be, yeah.
He's still required to do the infrastructure the way it was turned into us, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got,
Yeah.
yeah, the road, water, sewer, all that's gotta go in no matter what.
But not built.
Yeah.
Amenity package, all those kind of things.
Okay. Jeff, from a legal perspective,
On which section, just about, I mean, obviously, the PRD stands if you don't take any action, or Kevin doesn't take any action either way, then that's what it's zoned until, here to eternity, until someone else tries to amend that or try a different zoning.
in the past, this type of amendment has always been staff decided, correct?
I've asked Kevin that, other instances that he has with, it's under minor deviations is what it's under in the zoning ordinance on page 141. And as he advised, this was, they didn't get a lot of amendments, but that he named off several that in most recent days that we've done.
Right.
I know in planning, we've had this happen before, and typically Kevin will tell us if it's a minor adjustment or if it's lessening the densities and the lots, that staff usually can handle that at staff level. And
Yes.
we've always trusted him to do that, so.
But the ordinance states that staff can, if it provides for less density than the approved plan, if it provides for greater open space by the elimination or reduction in the size of residential, commercial, or industrial buildings, or if it modifies the orientation, location, siding, or height of buildings and structures required by engineering or other circumstances not foreseen at the time of the plan development was approved. So that's what it lays out as for minor deviation.
And that this amendment meets that.
Correct.
Yes, from the information he's provided.
Other comments?
The only comment I have is there any advantage of at least getting him in the room and having that discussion on what can be done to try to preserve that tree buffer?
I think Kevin's already done that. Kevin's met with them.
Yeah.
And what's the answer?
They said no.
I met with them yesterday. They said the same thing. They said they couldn't do it. They couldn't develop those lots adjacent to that property line and leave the trees. I met with them here yesterday at 2:30.
Kevin, is this the development that came before us a couple of times, like I say, back in January, where it was going to have like some sheer walls and things like that in the background, out there in the backyards of it all?
Yeah, the original plan, yes. Yeah, that's the one that you all actually never voted on because they began to shrink the size of it, to eliminate.
It was gonna be a
that.
mess the other way, so they've
Yeah.
already altered and changed it a lot to make it more palatable to the neighborhood, correct?
I mean, it certainly is, it's a lessened the development, certainly, because that original plan, I think, had 100 lots. Yeah. So they've lessened the number of lots and tried, yeah, so it is smaller in that regard, for sure.
So from
But
the
there was like
original,
a-
it's dropped 27 lots from the original.
To the proposed amendment, yes.
It was gonna be like a 10-foot wall, right?
I don't think it was bigger than that.
12.
I think it was like 30 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So only 15 and 10 landscape buffer with the amendment. What's the planning that's going to be in there? You know, I know we've got certain type landscape buffer.
Yeah. Well, the 10-foot extra, they were looking at like what's called a type A buffer, which is the evergreen trees every 20 feet with the shrubs every 5 feet in between. The 15 feet on the bottom, I've already talked to them about, that's going to be, because, I say bottom because there's some retaining
Are there
walls.
two different levels?
There's retaining walls, yeah. That bottom, the initial 15 feet would be I'm going to require something much heavier than that because of that, to hide that wall and stuff. We don't have the design yet. I don't know if it's how big that wall is necessarily, but.
So it's basically going to be two separate buffers at different
Right.
elevations.
You would basically be the elevation kind of at the,
Sheer wall.
where the Saddle Grove neighborhood is, and then between those houses and the neighborhood, there would be an additional buffer as well. The new houses, I mean.
Other comments? I guess my concern is that if this normally is a staff decision, that if we change that, and then on top of that, if we change it and say we'd rather see it go back to planning, it sounds like based on what Kevin has heard and what Steve has also heard, it's going to put, they'll just pull the amendment, which will add 10 more lots and 10 feet less buffer.
My preference would be send it back to planning and have discussion. And if they pull it, they pull it.
I just hate to set a precedence if what our
Well,
ordinance
it
says.
says they can do it, but it doesn't say it can't come back.
Counsel?
I like smaller subdivision myself. I think the less density, anytime we can come up with less density than what was otherwise planned, then in my opinion, that we're adding green space, and I think there were other amenities that he was adding to it also. And I don't mean to sound petty or anything like this, but for the sake of some trees, which can be replanted, I mean, I'm a tree hugger from jump, just ask the rest of the council. I mean, I'm really, value the green space, if you will. But I have difficulty with this particular one, because salvaging some trees would increase the density to a point that in the long run, and for everybody in the subdivisions around it, it would be a superior product for them. So,
No, you can't, I'm sorry. We've already done with public comment. So at this point, Jeff, what?
I don't
sorry.
really see the point in it going back to planning. I don't know what, I'm thinking about what we would do if we're there, and I just don't know what else we would do. We've already talked to them, we've asked them if they could keep it. They've said no, they've said if we deny it, they're gonna build without it. What else is there to discuss in planning? That's the only thing I don't know. I don't mind going back to planning and voting on it, but what's the point? What are we gonna, I
Well,
don't
when you
think we
go
can
back to
accomplish
planning,
anything.
then you give these people opportunity to have comments and public comment in front of them.
But they had
They
an
did,
opportunity
but the
for public comment.
developer's not here to respond.
But they had that in January and nobody came in January.
Did they really realize what was going on?
In January, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
nobody showed up in January.
Well, in January was the original PRD though, before.
It
this
had
extended
10 more
buffer.
it had 10 more houses and 10 feet less buffer.
Right.
Yeah, the same issue that is an issue now was an issue in January.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's not really a different issue.
Well, one of the reasons I asked the question about where they currently live now, their developer removed their trees.
Right.
And they're asking another developer to put some back. And so there's that part of it. There's the density portion of it that I, as a planning member, I like better than the original. And the 25-foot buffer is larger than what we normally require in a PRD development.
And it's like a two-tier buffer, you know.
It's still a buffer.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's,
You know, if
that's why I
there
don't know if
was,
planning's gonna do any more.
I'd
than
have
it's
a
already been.
better feel for it if we could specify what type of stuff goes in the buffer so that it's fast-growing, that it will provide some privacy in the future rather than just some slow-growing, burning bushes.
Do you mean for this particular
For the
project here?
20, yeah.
Kevin, is that something site plan wise that can be
I
addressed?
think
or is
that's
it-
certainly something we could do.
Okay, because
and,
it's-
And I would be happy to relay that to them in the morning, tomorrow, because I.
That may make them decide whether or not an amendment's important enough to them or not, depending on.
Because, I mean, that's what I said,
I get the
I wanna
point
get
on
to-
less density, more buffer, all that. I just feel like these people maybe have missed the first go-round, didn't really have input, and now we're at a point where the developer's just saying, well, if I don't get my way, I'm gonna withdraw it, let's go back to I think there should be some dialogue, and I think there could be some progress, but, you know, if Kevin would go back and at least ask, you know, to beef up the buffer or some type of fast-growing trees that would add some privacy fairly quick.
And that's why I asked about, can we address that at site plan?
Yeah.
We certainly could. I mean, I
Because
think.
that's our
yeah,
opportunity to
yeah.
police that point.
And I would, even before that, as a part of the amendment, if I go through that process and we.
If he brings his amendment, we can address it.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, or if it's something that I approve administratively, then I can
Can you
include
require
that.
that administratively?
include that. Well, the buffer's there already, or the required buffer to require,
It meets our regulations.
to require and they on their own, as far as that new 10-foot piece, have done something that probably what we would look like at in that first piece anyway. But looking at that 15 feet, the initial 15 feet is having, just like Mr. Dempsey was saying, a fast-growing, evergreen, heavier thickness to it, all those things.
Jerome, I hear what you're saying. My only concern is that they won't get an opportunity to come back and speak, meaning the citizens, and they get 10 more houses and 10-foot less buffer if the developer just says, which it sounds like that's what he said he's going to do, where if Kevin could approve a fast-growing buffer with the amendment, would you feel better about it?
My preference would be, I feel like planning has more meat to them when they're discussing it. I'm not disregarding Kevin or anything, but the developer's already said, basically if we don't get our way, then we're going back to the original. I think it would be a first start and see if Kevin has a comfort level with where they're going with the conversation and what the developer's willing to do.
But we've been doing that for the last month, because this has been going on for a month, and Kevin has been having conversation.
But not on the type plannings, the density.
I haven't talked about that specifically to them.
Right, but the other you have, about,
The extra 10 feet and all that, yeah. But I can certainly have that conversation. I have no issue with that at all.
Not long ago, we sat and decided that a 20-foot buffer was going to be an ample buffer for our developments. So this actually adds 5 more feet to that buffer. And I don't really think personally that the amendment is not a better idea. So if it came back to us at planning, if it did, it's kind of how I feel already. It's like, doesn't it benefit them, all this, to get that larger buffer and fewer homes and more green space? Doesn't it? That's how I look at it.
so, council, do you want to have Kevin move forward with, well, I don't even know, Jeff, is this even our decision?
Well, you're giving Kevin direction because if it's determined that it's a substantial deviation, that's the key phrase. If it's a substantial deviation from the approved PRD, and then, you can direct staff that, we don't want you to make these decisions on this minor deviation. We don't consider it a minor deviation, we consider it a major deviation.
So,
And so,
can we vote on whether we want it sent back to planning or whether we want staff to make the decision?
I think if you were going to vote, I would rather that be an agenda item if you're going to vote on it.
Do we have to vote, or can we give what each one of us
I think you give what each one of you,
want without it being a vote? Okay.
I just kind of shared my idea, but Dave's got something, so.
Dave?
Yeah, obviously, I think what we'd like is just some clear direction this evening in line with what Jeff said. If we're going to continue on, I think if we're continuing on with the administrative process and we get that from you all tonight, then we'll certainly do that. The comments related to the buffer were clear from the council and very good suggestions as it relates to can we get installed faster growing trees. And quite frankly, I'd be very surprised if the developer wasn't willing to do that. The reality is, and I just want to be really clear with the council, is that if you do say that you would like to see this come before the planning council, well, we would obviously need to wait for the next planning meeting, and this issue would be delayed even further. I'm not sure what that means to the developer, nor do I, that's that's their business. But I want to be crystal clear that all indications so far that if this doesn't get approved, and by this, what I mean is the 73 lots and the 10 additional feet of buffer, that the likelihood of this in going to planning commission in reality is not going to happen, because they're just going to stick with their existing PRD of the 83 homes in the 15-foot buffer. So it's, I'll say it very bluntly, it's kind of a gamble to make that decision.
You've met with them, have you not, Dave?
I have not met with the developer. I did meet with the residents, myself, Kevin, and Mr. Spearman. So we were able to hear out their concerns. And frankly, I think that while I know we're not going to meet their expectations on what we can legally do for them, we were able to get that additional 10-foot of tree buffer, which I thought was a good thing on the developer's part to do.
Okay. Mark, where you're at, I think 10 lots of less density, 10 foot of more green space, more green space and then an additional 10 foot of buffer. I would rather see that happen than gamble and it not happen. But I would like, Kevin, for you to have discussion with the developer regarding the faster growing buffer. Jerry, how do you feel?
Well, I know if it was me and I had the choice of either pretty much knowing I was going to lose the 15 feet and gamble that I might get it, which it sounds like that's not going to happen. I would, if it was behind me, I'd go ahead and take the 25 feet and move forward. So that's kind of the way I feel. And staff has been looking at these for years, and I hate to set a different precedent on that. I'd just rather see Kevin and him look at it and make the decision.
Okay. Steve?
I think I've already said, I don't think anything would change because of what we're obligated to do with the current PRD, or what he could do, and specifically what the ordinance says about substantial change. This doesn't fit the things that we would normally see at planning. We wouldn't normally redo these. And I just don't think it makes sense to do that and open ourselves up. If we put additional delays or cost or stress or whatever on this project, it could open us up for litigation from this developer.
Okay.
And I'm not sure there's enough juice for the squeeze, right?
Okay. Mark, you kind of already said yours, but anything
Yeah.
else you want to add?
No, I think that's enough.
Okay. HG?
I think anytime that we can get a smaller density and a greater buffer, that we're on the winning side there. And I don't want to seem heartless to the residences out there because, I do respect their opinion and appreciate them coming in here and expressing it to us. But that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Raquel?
I'd agree with HG on that. Thank you all for letting us know your concerns. I am for less density, and I'm all about the green space. So to have the additional buffer, I think that would be good, and to have give direction to Kevin to go back and discuss that with the developer as to what that buffer needs to look like. I think that should still be within his purview.
Jerome?
I'm the oddball out. I'd like to see it go back to Planning Commission just to have an open discussion. I know he brought the amendment in for a reason. I think if it goes back to the Planning Commission, there could be opportunity for the residents to have input. I think there'd be opportunity to meet halfway. My concern is, and this isn't anything towards Kevin, I got total confidence in him. What if he just disregards our requests for a denser buffer, fast-growing trees and things like that, then does Kevin say, okay, it's approved, or does Kevin come back to us and say, hey, this guy is not willing to talk to us? What do I do now?
Even if for me, even if he said, I'm not willing to put in fast-growing buffer, for me, I'd rather see 10 less houses, I'd rather see more green space, and I'd rather see an additional 10 foot of buffer.
Well, I'll just go on the record. I'd like to see it go back to the planning commission.
Okay. Do you feel you've got direction that we want to move forward with trying to get the faster-growing trees, and that we give you the discretion
Okay,
to move forward?
all right.
Okay?
Before we end that conversation, I wanted to wait till all that was done. In the last joint planning council meeting, I think it was the last one, there was a conversation about amending ordinances to require developers to leave existing canopy when they can. I don't know that we've ever come back with anything on that, so I just want to ask you guys to make sure you're revisiting that, because that's the other piece of this, is our current ordinances and our current PRD requirements do not require them to leave these trees.
Well,
And if that's what we're wanting, and that's what citizens are wanting, then it needs to be codified.
we discussed that on PRD on Rock Springs Road, where there was an existing tree buffer, and I think the planning commission or the council, may have been the council, there was language in there that said preserve existing tree buffer where possible.
Yeah.
I had
We
an
did that
issue with where possible, because I know what where possible means with a guy on a dozer, you know?
Yeah, and
And
that's,
so I think we do need some specific language.
I think that's the slippery slope, right? Because
Yeah.
when I talked to him about, when I talked to this developer about leaving the trees, that's what he said, is even if we could, you know, it depends on if we could.
Yeah.
And he said, because of the grading, we can't. So there's kind of always going to be that out if there's an if possible. And I mean, I don't know. I'll have to rely on Jeff and Dave to tell me, is there language that can be firmer than that, but still
Well,
not restrict
and
capabilities, right?
Dave and I had some
Dave's got some
conversation, Dave and I had kind of had some conversation about looking at those around us and what they have regarding tree ordinances and that sort of thing to bring to our joint meeting to
Yeah,
have
and I
some
think at
discussion.
some time, and I think we've discussed this, Dave, start looking at the caliper of trees they're taking out to replenish those
Yeah, I think
as
this
well.
is the second or third time that we've kind of had
Yeah.
this same kind of conversation, although it's been a little different. But, you know, the property out on Lee Road with Patrick Buchain and now these folks, and I think even the same thing at Gwynn Farms. So, I mean, it's
Right.
come up multiple times, and it all seems to stem around this
Tree.
keeping trees in a buffer, right? And I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of tired of talking about buffers. It seems like we're just, every PRD that's adjacent to another development, that's what it all comes down to, is somebody's not happy about the amount of trees being left.
Well, and I can say we are finalizing the agenda and all for our next meeting, which is on the 30th before the next workshop. And so it is certainly something, we're coming back with some additional information to discuss that. And just procedurally, this is something that that Mr. Santucci and I have talked about, and we're gonna make it clear from now on in the PRD. Are you guys keeping trees? Are you taking trees out and replanting them? And it's gonna be in the documents. We had one, and I've already asked them, and it's gonna be a mix of both, because some of it's not wooded right now, so some of it, there will be new.
Yeah, with some
planting.
kind of ongoing maintenance plan of that
Right.
buffer.
Yeah, of course, it'll be in the open areas, and
Yeah.
it's be part of the HOA requirements for long-term maintenance, certainly. But that's something that, moving forward on all of these, we're gonna have that. We'll know on the front end at least what we're talking about specifically.
Well,
then-
and
then-
Steve and Mark, y'all have heard what our concerns are, and I would hope that, and I know that you will, make sure that you make that clear to the other planning commission of what we're wanting to see. So, okay. Kevin, are you good with moving forward?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then I'll move on to item 2, and I will call our meeting to order. And I will ask Bob Horn, our Smyrna Police Department chaplain, to do our prayer. And our pledge tonight will be led by our town manager, Dave Santucci. If you'll all stand with us, please.
Shall we pray? Our great Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy holy name. Father, we know that as we come before Thee in this meeting, there's difficult decisions to be made, and we pray that the people that are in charge, the leaders that we have in this town, that we do things according to love and to good works at the same time. We pray, dear Father, that we look out for one another, that we develop the city as need fit and as we can move forward. We also pray that we can do the best thing for citizens that live here. Pray that you be with them as they make these decisions, be with each one that serves in this city. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chaplain and Dave. Miss Amber, if you'll do roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Councilman Dempsey? Present. Councilwoman Peebles?
Here.
Councilman Cole?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Short?
Here.
Councilman Sullivan?
Here.
Vice Mayor Atkins?
Here.
Mayor Reed?
Here. Move on to item 4, which is approval or corrections of the minutes, the September 9th, 2025 regular meeting of the Town Council, the September 25th, 2025 workshop meeting, and the September 30th, 2025 special called meeting of the Town Council. Jeff, are these in order?
Rest form unless council has any amendments you'd like to make.
Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Any awards or recognitions tonight, Amber or Dave? Okay.
Actually, I think probably should do one on yeah. Jason, if you want to maybe speak about some recognitions this evening, if I could do it during this section.
Sure.
So we can, thank you.
Mayor and council, I just want to take a moment. I'd spoken to Mr. Santucci about this, recognizing some work from the police department. One in particular was, unfortunately, we had a homicide in the town recently on September 20th. I just want to commend the detectives, the patrol officers, and the dispatchers for the work they did during a very stressful occurrence. And to let you know that literally within 72 hours, all 3 suspects that were involved in that homicide were in custody and jail. So I want to commend everyone for the work they did on that homicide. It takes a lot of work, a lot of hours, and commitment to get that job done as quickly as they did, and they did that. Second recognition I wanted to give was we had a theft of over $100,000 worth of electric vehicle chargers taken from a trailer at an address. And within 24 hours, the property was recovered, and we had a warrant for the suspect in that case. Just another example of outstanding police work by our officers and detectives. And then thirdly, I wanted to mention and give recognition to all of our staff for all the work they've put in to make us fully staffed with no vacancies at the department. Since I started almost 3 years ago, we've been working on this over and over. I'm very thankful to Mr. Santucci and the council for getting our pay where it needed to be. I think that made great strides in us being able to be fully staffed. And I can say that speaking to people that have worked at the department for 35 plus years is the first time they can remember that we did not have any vacancies at the police department. So I just want to commend everyone, Marcia, the training staff, FTOs, everyone at the department that put a lot of time and effort testing every month. Almost every month since I've been here, we've been testing, trying to get to fully staffed. And it takes a lot of work and effort. And I want to commend everyone that did that at the department and worked and strived to be able to get us fully staffed. And I'm very proud of all their accomplishments and making this happen. So I just want to take a time to let you know there's some great work being done at the police department. A lot of dedicated men and women that work extremely hard every day to keep people safe and to do their jobs and do them well. So that's all.
We appreciate those individuals. We hate that those things are happening in the community, but we sure are glad that you guys are here to help find those people. So if you're going to commit a crime in Smyrna, you better be prepared because we're going to find you.
That's right.
So, Thanks.
Mentioning the work that the officer did, the humanitarian effort that he had with the homeless gentleman?
That's a veteran, I
Yeah.
believe?
Yeah.
Yeah, Officer Weishauer was involved with helping a veteran get some help that they needed. I can't remember all the details, but I think there might have been some mental health issues going on.
Yeah, we had
So-
a homeless gentleman in the community, and this officer took the time to get to know him and understand what was probably impacting the reason why he was homeless. And after learning a little bit about his story, he was able to find him a resource here locally that took him in to give him the rehabilitation that he needed. This veteran was dealing with PTSD to the extent that he could no longer function really in society. And the fact that this officer took the time to get to know this individual and then took it beyond that to help him out, I thought was just an outstanding example of what all of us should be doing, but particularly, employees and police officers, to show that kind of that care to individuals was tremendous to me. So thank you for bringing it. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is our consent agenda, and item A through K are the consent agenda items that are determined by the town manager to be routine matters and not necessarily needing additional discussion individually. If there's something that you've not had a question answered either at the workshop or after the workshop before this meeting, we can pull off and talk about and discuss individually. But if not, we will vote on the consent as a whole. But I do like to read these items. Item A is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with Motorola Solutions via a state contract relative to the purchase of radios and related communications equipment and software for the fire department. Item B is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute Amendment Number 1 with Kimberly Horn for right-of-way and landscape services for the new section of sidewalk along Old Nashville Highway between St. Luke's and St. Matthews. Item C is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute Amendment Number 1 to the agreement with Kimberly Horn relative to the Enon Springs Road Sidewalk Project for additional boundary survey and right-of-way design. Item D is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Barge Solutions for a corridor study of Industrial Boulevard from Sam Ridley to the west connection of Teams Boulevard. Item E is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with Universal Linen for the Smyrna Event Center. Item F is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development's Tourism Enhancement Grant for fiscal year '25 in the amount of $41,000. Item G is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with Three Boys Consulting LLC relative to the wastewater treatment plant metal storage building at the Sludge Hall site. Item H is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a one-year contract extension relative to banking services for First Horizon Bank. Item I is approval of the surplus items to be sold through online auction with GovDeals. Item J is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding with the City of Murfreesboro, the City of Laverne, and Rutherford County to jointly fund a study exploring the benefits of consolidating emergency dispatch services into a unified communications center. And item K is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with NashCom to encrypt all police department radios in the communication division. Do I have a motion to approve consent?
Motion to approve.
A motion, do I have a second? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Consent passes. We'll now move on to item 7, which is, we have, I think it's 2 public hearings tonight. Yes, 2 public hearings tonight. Our first one is consideration of an ordinance amending the text of the Smyrna Municipal Zoning Ordinance, Article 4, Section 4.075, and Article 5, Section 5.051.1, 5.051.2, 5.051.3, 5.051.4, 5.051.5, and 5.051.6 regarding the required minimum building setbacks for detached accessory structures. Phew, Kevin.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is several sections of the zoning ordinance. They're all the various residential zoning districts that we have. This is regarding a change to the required minimum building setbacks for detached accessory structures, something we've talked about internally as staff the last few months and brought it to the last joint Planning Commission Council work session. And so we brought it forward. Currently, we require at least 8 feet for detached structures to be at least 8 feet in all residential zoning districts, but must be located inside a rear yard. And the proposed amendments would change that required distance to 5 from 8. And this would also clarify that any PRD, it would be that same 5-foot requirement. And basically, we treated all residential lots would be the same with regards to detached accessory structure setbacks. It will also make the town's requirement consistent with the requirements of the city of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. We've had that several times. People have had purchased a building and put it 5 feet off, and they said, well, we thought it was 5 feet because that's what it is in Rutherford County or whatever. And so there's been a lot of confusion at times. So this would address that as well. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this amendment unanimously. Staff would also recommend approval.
Questions for Kevin on this? We've had quite a bit of discussion about this at meeting and then at workshop as well. Okay, since this is a public hearing, I'll see if there's anyone here in the public to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing and go to council for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I thought that's the one you were all up in arms about when we discussed it. Was it not?
Move right along here.
Okay, got it. Something must have changed your mind. Public hearing. Our next one is consideration of an ordinance amending the text of the Smyrna Municipal Zoning Ordinance, Article 5, Section 5.052.4, relative to the addition of the use tourist home to the uses allowed by right in the C4 Neighborhood Service Business District. Kevin?
Yes, this is another text amendment to the zoning ordinance. This is something we had discussed, had some off and on discussions about for several months. And again, this is one we did bring to the last joint meeting and discuss there, and we did bring it forward to the Planning Commission. This would add the use of tourist home to the uses allowed by right in the C4 Neighborhood Service Business District. Currently, this use is allowed within C1, 2, 3, C5, and the A1 district under the wider banner of transient habitation. This proposed amendment would add just this specific use as a use allowed by right within C4. The Planning Commission did review this, did recommend approval, 6-4, 1 against. Staff would also recommend approval.
Comments or questions for Kevin on this? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. If you'll come forward and if you'll state your name, address, and if you live in the town limits.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Dan Epwright, 114 Seward Street, Smyrna, Tennessee, inside the city limits. I don't want to be an idiot, but I don't know what a tourist home is. Is it like an Airbnb? Is it like a youth hostel in Europe? I mean, I don't know what it is.
Great.
That's all.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. And Kevin?
Yeah, just to answer that question, it's in your packet with the actual definition from our zoning ordinance, which is what we have to go by administrating the ordinance. It's a residential building where lodging is furnished to transients for compensation, containing not more than 5 sleeping rooms for such transients. So it's something similar to an Airbnb or a Vrbo type situation. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I closed the public hearing, didn't I? Yes, okay. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second? I think it was
Mr.
Jerry.
Short.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We have items under new business tonight. Our first one is consideration of an ordinance relative to the annexation in C2 zoning of property on tax map 55C, Group B, parcel 30.00, requested by Aramis Development Group LLC containing 1.27 acres. The property is located at 101 McNary Lane.
This project has been withdrawn from your consideration. Yes.
Okay.
And
I
but
probably
in
had
between
more
the time-
calls and comments
Yeah,
than
Yeah,
anything I've had in a long time.
yeah. In between the planning commission and put it on the agenda, then they withdrew it, so.
So-
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you butcher goats inside the city limits of Smyrna?
I think maybe on an agriculturally, a property that has an agricultural zoning designation, you could probably do
That's not
that.
in the, that's not in the city.
This house
It's
is in the
county.
county.
No, I'm just asking
Oh, in the
if it was,
city.
if it was in the city.
That would
Could you
be,
butcher goats? So Kevin, just because we had so many questions and so many people that sent us correspondence about this, the fact that they've withdrawn it, let's talk about the process and what that means if they wanted to try to do something else with that piece of property.
Before you do, Kevin, I want to clarify why he asked that question, because at planning, we had a few speakers come up, and one of those speakers who lives next door had said he witnessed that.
Witness.
At that site that wanted zoning approval. That's why the question, I saw your eyes go.
You say milking the goat?
No.
No,
butcher.
they were butchering, they were butchering
Not just
goats.
goats, chickens, other animals.
Now, whether that's not for us to decide if that really happened or not, but we had somebody spoke, said they witnessed it, so.
So what was Kevin's answer? I'm sorry, I zoned out after I thought milking the goat. That's
I
why.
mean, to me, that's, if you have a farm and have your own animals, certainly
And they were in the
people
county.
been, and you have on a piece of
They
property in
captured the
Smyrna
But
that
it's a
has,
residential
has-
district in the county.
County.
It was
But I don't know
REM,
what
I
it's
think, in the
REM.
county.
yeah.
It's REM.
I wouldn't think that on that, that's probably not even in the county, which has more agriculturally zoned properties, et cetera, probably not in that neighborhood, wouldn't even there.
It's probably against the restrictions that they.
I'm sure if the restrictions are still in place in that development, probably are.
What
I would
about
encourage the neighbors to call the codes department with the county.
Yes,
if-
absolutely.
If they witness that. So we'll move on to item 2, which is consideration of an ordinance relative to the annexation and R3 zoning of property on tax map 50, parcel 31.00, requested by CLQ Land on behalf of Chow Wen Dong, containing 21.7 acres. The property is located at 5198 Lee Road. Kevin?
Yeah, this is a request for annexation for a piece of property on Lee Road. It's about half a mile west of the intersection with Rocky Fork Road. Land use plan for this area is the 24 Gateway Character Area. This is kind of on the very western edge of that, which would support a mix of uses and services, kind of local and regional, including hospitality, retail, restaurant, and multifamily. Surrounding zoning is PRD in town, which is the Oak Meadows development, which is to the west, and then RM in Rutherford County. The town would be providing all services to this area upon annexation. The proposed zoning for this request is R3. A sewer main would be required to be extended from the Olive Branch sewer line to serve this site, would require an off-site sewer easement to be obtained, and a main extended of at least 1,200 feet, which would be at the expense of the developer. The Planning Commission did review this, did recommend approval, and staff would also recommend approval.
Steve or Mark, anything you want to add?
Well, this is a situation where this is R3 zoned, so it's not a PRD for us to have oversight on.
That was one of my questions. Is there any plans to go from R3 to less dense?
Oh,
In my conversations with the developer,
It would go
no.
the other way, it'd be my expectation. If they came in with a PRD, they would make it more dense, not less.
Right.
But yeah, in my conversation with the developer, they were not looking to go, it's a single-family development, that's what they want to do, and they're not
Hey.
proposing,
Yeah, let's go.
yeah, they're not proposing
Yeah.
anything more dense at this time.
no.
My conversation was, that's what they told me.
Don't want to hold them up because we don't see many of these.
Let's go.
School property in relation to that.
Directly across the street. If I can make my little pointer work here. right there. This track right here.
So they'll have that. Okay.
Other questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 3 is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 55, parcels 11.12, owned by Unicoi TN LLC, containing 91/100ths of an acre from PID to C2. The property is located west of Amable Road. Kevin?
Yeah, this is a rezoning request. This property is already within the town, so it's rezoning. It's located west of Allenville Road. It's about 450 feet south of the intersection with Quail Ridge Road. This property has no frontage on Allenville Road, but it has access to it through adjoining parcels. The land use plan for this is similar to the last request, is the 24 Gateway character area, which again would support a mix of uses and services such as hospitality, retail, restaurant, multifamily. Surrounding zoning is PID, or Planned Industrial Development, and C2. This parcel was included in the planned industrial development for the adjoining tract of land, which is to the west. Was not ultimately used as a part of the development of that PID, and as a result, it was actually divided from the main parcel and sold separately. The new owner also owns one of the adjoining commercial tracts, does wish to develop this tract with a commercial use, and so they requested the C2 zoning. The Planning Commission did review this, did recommend approval, and staff would also recommend approval.
Questions or comments on this?
I have not seen a plan yet. He owns the shopping center to the north that kind of sits angled to the Amble Road, so I'm assuming it's something similar to that.
Other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. New business item B, consideration and approval of the new and revised Smyrna Police Department policies, unmanned aircraft systems, drones, policy number 2-59, appearance, uniforms, and equipment, policy number 3-7, and procedures for handling the mentally ill, policy number 2-32. Chief?
Mayor and Council, I think the last time I presented this, just updates on some of our policies. The drones is establishing a policy for those and the usage. The uniform policy addressed the carrying of utility knives on duty, and then the last on actually who is going to be responsible for transporting someone that's having a mental health crisis. Ambulance service let us know that unless it's a medical related incident, they would not be transporting, so we had to revise that part of the policy for us.
Questions for Chief on this? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C is consideration of an ordinance amending Smyrna Municipal Code Title 15, Chapter 6, Section 622, relative to the modified public transportation vehicles. Jeff?
Yes, first of all, let me say that you're not supposed to have goats within 1,000 feet of a residence unless you have 5 acres and zoned agricultural
Within the town of Smyrna.
within the town.
What about the county?
That's up
That's
to,
the county legal department's issue.
that's up to
Sorry, Jeff.
Nick Christensen.
Jeff, thank you for looking at it.
Yes. So, it was driving me crazy, I need to know. So, this ordinance, for the most part, we noticed that we did not have anything in our current code that dealt with these school buses or the like, similar, any vehicle that can hold over 15 people, that addressed it being in the driveways, being in front yards, those types of things. And so we wanted to amend the ordinance to include for that. And while we're doing it for school bus, there you'll see in 15622, Part 1, further defined that a school bus that has to be actively used as a school bus for a governmental entity or school district, et cetera. And then the other part, the main part about modified public transportation vehicle, where we define that. As we spoke at the workshop, we did remove, we had A, B, and C parts. We did remove the section B that required that it had to be modified from its original appearance. And so that way, someone could say, I just didn't modify it, so now they're back to parking an old school bus in front of the house. So that was, Councilman Sullivan made that suggestion, and I thought it was a good one, and so we took that out. But this prohibition will not apply to lots containing 5 or more acres, or if it's enclosed in structures not visible from the street.
Affectionately call this the cobblestone ordinance. We had this situation down the street from us, and it was a Hamilton County school bus that had been retired, but they were supposedly redoing it to make a camper or something out of it. But they actually had parked it in front of the house, and it didn't look like they ever did any work on it. It just sat there for about a month.
Well, they can be a vehicular albatross.
Yeah. Well, a bus, when you only have a 35-foot driveway and a bus is 40 feet long, the bus is a big item.
Any questions for Jeff? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Sounds like we have bus lovers.
Item 9, anything under other tonight?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Status reports?
Good evening. So in August, state shared tax came in at $679,000. Local sales tax came in at $1,786,000. This is trending in line with budgeted expectations, but shop local.
People were shopping for school clothes probably at that time, so.
All I'm gonna say is Rex hasn't been on that long, and yet you're already turning things around. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, that's it.
This is the first time we've seen a report where it was even slightly more budget than year. So that seems to be an uptick, so that's good. And if Rex was listening, sorry, Rex.
Okay, thanks, Sierra.
I hope he's-
Correspondence or announcements tonight?
I got a couple of things. Probably should just ask Sierra to stay up here, but yeah, just in case you need to back me up on this one. I do want to report that this Thursday, the comptroller will be at the Rutherford County meeting, commission meeting, and that's going to be at 6 p.m. The comptroller has asked for mayors and finance directors and I guess managers to be there to hear what he has to tell the county, which is related to the property assessor's assessments of properties, and I don't think it's going to be the best news. And although we really have nothing to do with those assessments whatsoever, we just need to be aware. I think that there are likely going to be some property owners who get some amended tax bills, either in the positive and or negative. We do not know what that looks like yet. But I would encourage the council to tune in to that meeting. As soon as we can get some further details, we will. I don't think we've been able to get that at this point. And what I mean by that is, what are the list of properties? What are the effects? We don't know that at this point. But if we do get that, we will certainly try to get that in your hands. But I tell you, one, because I think it's important to give that announcement for the public tonight, just in case they are an affected parcel. We do not have the list. Tune into that meeting for hopefully some more answers, because we have very little. But wanted to make you aware of that. And it can be, their meetings are live streamed as well, so you don't have to show up to the county meeting. But if you want to tune in, Rutherford County does stream their meetings, and you can certainly do so there. Anything to add on that?
No. You summarized nicely.
All right, thank you. Also want to let the council know that the school board has decided to close Wolverine Trail beginning on October 27, 2025. They will be installing gates over there off of Cheney within the Laverne city limits, and they will be putting up gates at the town of Smyrna limits into the school. There is no turnaround at that location, which is problematic for us. However, it's not our decision to make, unfortunately. They were actually going to go ahead and start this on the 13th, but I had asked them a lot of questions that I think made them realize that they need a little bit better of a plan on this. So we have heard that they will be installing or putting up signage. I don't know if that's permanent signage. I don't know if that's the variable message boards. Our staff was going to reach out to them to try to coordinate to the extent that we can. But we will fill in any gaps that the school board needs us to as it relates to putting out some variable message boards ahead of time to alert drivers now that that road will no longer be for through traffic, as well as permanent signage where we can, probably just at Jeannie Lane, to alert drivers of that new traffic pattern. As far as I know, the reason for this is for school safety, as through traffic goes directly through that high school, and they have some concerns about that. Next.
Not our decision.
Not our decision.
Correct.
Next, we've had a lot of we haven't had a lot of conversation as a group, but there has been a lot of conversation either individually with some of you, or you've had conversations with some of the business owners in the Depot District about what they're, what they would like to see. There's been talks about, is a main street, making a main street something that the town would be interested in. I want to let the council know that I've been researching this pretty hard lately. I did meet with the, I'm not sure if her title is director, but she oversees all main streets within Tennessee. I had a meeting with her to understand what that looks like. And there are quite a few Main Street programs here in the state of Tennessee. She's more than willing to help us through that process. But I also have had conversations, and I asked some staff and the mayor to sit in on this meeting with the Urban Land Institute. And if you don't know what the Urban Land Institute is, it is a worldwide organization that has existed for decades. And among the things that they do, one of them is called a TAP, or a Technical Advisory Panel. And this is a process that I've gone through in other agencies that I worked for. But really what it amounts to is you contract with ULI, who then puts together a panel for you of experts who are not paid, so they're completely objective in their analysis. But you present them with a land development issue, so to speak, and you provide them with all the data that you can ahead of time, and then they put their panel together. The panel does some independent research before coming on site. They come on site, they hold stakeholder meetings, public meetings, they get a vast amount of input from all stakeholders, and then through their expertise in various areas, whether it's land development, real estate, urban planning, transportation, whatever it may be, they put these experts together to fit the issue best, and then they come back and they basically lock themselves away for a day and a half, and they I don't know, must stay up all night, but they come out and they really have some interesting things to provide to you, some very insightful things to provide to you at the end of the day. And then they take that initial analysis, and then they come back a month or two later with an official report back to the town. So I did engage these folks. The Nashville ULI is very interested in the project. I know that they've, I think today just sent me an email, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But I do think it's a worthwhile thing for us to do because at the end of the day, they can look at things like our zoning there. They can look at the historical regulations that we have in place. They can look at what the transportation needs. They might have, some recommendations as it relates to transportation, density requirements, the whole 9 yards. And so it's a really interesting, holistic look. Not to say that I don't think the Main Street program would not work for us. I just don't know if that's the only thing that we should really be looking at. And I want to make sure that we take a holistic approach. And again, as a panel who is objective and not paid to look at this, they have no skin in the game, so they really kind of give you some great expert advice. So I wanted to let you know that I had that meeting. I've had several meetings, in fact, and what I'm looking at. And hopefully this is, if you're interested in learning more, I'd be happy to sit down with any one of you. But I think we'll probably be getting a proposal for consideration at some point, at least for my consideration at some point, and that I could share with you all at a later date.
Perfect. Anything else for Dave? Dave, can we get an update on Front Street?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Can I just see if I have anything else?
Yes.
Real quick. Depot comptroller, nope, please. I'm good, so, yeah. Okay, sounds good. Get an update on Front Street, on the progress there, as well as I'd like, if I have, while I have Tom up here, we can give an update on where we are with the roadway analysis project. I don't think I called it the right name, but.
Yeah, roadway maintenance technology, yeah, with Front Street. So today, Wiregrass was out there, finished up some paving. They did some paving up near Division Street, and then they also moved down to Front Street. They've already completed all the repaving down Wright Street and College Street. Today they're out on Front Street doing the parking lots or parking spaces up against Front Street, as well as the loading areas. Those areas are harder to get to. It's not just a straight run, so those take a little bit more time than the straight run. So they were able to get that finished up today. And then tomorrow morning they're going to come in and they're going to finish the straight runs through the section of Front Street and be done. We've contacted Pope Striping. They're going to come out tomorrow and do some temporary striping for parking spaces, the double yellow solid line down the middle, and then some temporary for crosswalks as well. So by end of tomorrow, all paving is anticipated to be complete.
And the line's painted this week also?
Yeah, I think Pope is planning to be out there tomorrow, so hoping they'll get all that done tomorrow. At least temporary stripes will be painted.
And what's the plan for the traffic calming?
So after that, I'm going to get with Rollins. We're going to set a schedule, and I'll communicate that with Dave and Todd, make sure everybody knows. But then they're going to come out and do some of the sections at a time for the flat crosswalks, as well as doing some of the concrete work over the existing trench drains, and then ultimately working out to do the raised crosswalks as well. But I'll try and work out a good schedule, like I said, coordinate that with Dave.
It's on a different subject, is that okay? Okay. I reached out to Dave and Charles this past week regarding a lot of questions and a few complaints about the speed limits there on Jefferson Pike. When you're coming off of Lee Victory, 30 miles an hour, a lot of people are thinking it's a speed trap, quite honestly. I know Jerry lives on there and 40's fine. I mean, that's what's in front of his house. Is there the possibility that that can be adjusted from Lee Victory to the bridge to all be 40? And then after the bridge, it goes to 45 anyway. But I pointed out that the county road, when you cross over 840, from there to Walter Hill is a 2-lane winding road at 45 miles an hour.
Right.
But we've got a 4-lane over there, and people are crawling it. The people that are crawling at 30 are getting run over.
Right.
And so that's kind of the question that was posed to me to ask about.
Yeah, and obviously when you get into, even though it's wider road, more lanes, when you get into areas, and I'm not justifying the speed, I'm just stating that once you get into areas where there's a higher traffic volume and more points of access, then the speed limit typically goes down. This is certainly something we can talk about, and I want to talk to Dave, Todd, as well as get police department involved and make sure they're okay with it. As soon as TDOT releases the project and they're done with it, I think at that point we can go in and take a look at the signage.
I don't think anybody's doing 30 right there anyway unless you know to.
It's tough,
Everybody
yeah.
else is just passing you. They're
Yeah.
just flying by.
Yeah,
And I think that
absolutely.
creates as much havoc as anything.
Yeah, so we heard that statement a couple times when TDOT releases it. What's going on with that? Can they just hold it indefinitely? It seems like it's well past mostly complete, so what are we waiting on? What are they waiting on?
The contractor's going to want to get their final payment, and they've probably held back 5 or 10% of all their invoices, and so they do want to go ahead and get paid and get all that closed out. I'm not sure exactly what their timeline is. I know that we have gone through and done a punch list walkthrough a couple of times, sent TDOT some information. And I know that TDOT was on site, the contractor, I should say, Civil Constructors was on site. They did some work in the cabinet at Jefferson Pike and Sam Ridley intersection, as well as work in the cabinet at the 840 intersection as well. So they've completed that work. They've mowed it really well, so I don't think they're planning on mowing anymore. So I think they're very, very close to being done. I'll reach out to them. Charles and I will reach out to them tomorrow and just see if they've got a better time frame on exactly when they plan on turning it over. I'm giving them substance.
I've got a comment on the roundabout paving down to Harts Branch. It really looks good, and I drove it while delivering Meals on Wheels, and it looks good. And we had a couple business owners, and Tom and Dave spoke with them at beginning of the meeting. Their concern was, and I think Tom's going to go down tomorrow morning and speak with them, is being able to have access with the long lateral parking lot on Front Street there so that people can park to go to the businesses.
You mean just during like the paving, while they're paving?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Tom.
All right.
Thanks, Todd.
Just a quick, just a brief update on our roadway management technology. That's the company we hired, and they came in back in beginning of September. They installed some equipment on about 22 of our town vehicles, some cameras and radar. What that does is that goes through the town and reads the road and takes measurements of vibration as vehicles, as different town vehicles driving across the road. And they also scans it for any cracks, fissures, any road failures. And what it does is go back and calculates what's called a PCI. Just want to, first of all, I want to thank PD department. I think they volunteered 15 of their guys to drive around with these cameras and radar detectors on their vehicles, streets, utilities department as well. I also want to thank IT department, Carl and his guys, just making sure that all the Wi-Fi equipment is working right at PD, streets, and utilities department to make sure we can get this information downloaded. So like I said, these devices take measurements and calculate what's called a PCI. PCI stands for your Pavement Condition Index. It's an ASTM standard. It's American Society for Testing Materials. So they set up this scale. It goes from 0 is the lowest number up to 100. PCI is a numerical rating of the pavement conditions based on the type and severity of distresses observed on the pavement surfaces. So I looked at the information today. We've got about 64% of our roadway miles logged so far. Now, we're still downloading data, and when so over the next few weeks, we're going to look to see what data we've got, and then go out specifically and target certain streets to make sure we get the remainder of the data over the next 2 to 3 weeks. What they do is they're looking at a roadway just based on a 20-year lifespan. So typically asphalt roadways has right around 20-year lifespan. Of course, that varies depending on what type of roadway it is. If it has a lot of heavy truck traffic, a lot of traffic on it, then it will have a lower lifespan. Something that gets very little traffic would have a higher lifespan. But on average, you get about 20-year lifespan out of asphalt. So the PCI scores are kind of like your school grades. It goes from A, B, C, D, and F. Ones that score between 85 and 100 are given an A rating. B rating is 84 to 70. C rating is 55 to 69. D rating is 40 to 54, and an F rating is below 39. To kind of put that in perspective, A roads have at least 10 to 20 years of remaining lifespan on it. B roads have 7 to 10 years left of lifespan. C roads have 4.5 to 7 years of life. D is 2 to 4.5 years, and F roads are 0 to 2 years of lifespan left on it. But you don't want, your goal isn't to wait till it gets to 0, okay? We want to start earlier than that. And, I think now is a great time to have this software out there and what we're doing. Because now, over the last few years, it was really easy to find roads that needed to be repaired. This way, we're able to focus our attention a little bit more to know exactly which roads we need to repair. And that way we can focus our money wisely. A little bit of good news on it. Like I said, it's only 64% of roadways have been evaluated with this system. We're averaging a little over 88% or 88 on score on our PCI value. So again, that's a B rating. Between 84 and 70 is I'm sorry, that's an A rating. That's 85 to 100 is an A rating. So overall, we got an A rating on all of our roads so far. About 91% of our roadways that we've measured have an A or a B rating. C ratings, if you include them, that's about 96.9% of what we've measured so far have a C or above. Now, typically when you get down to that C range, that's when you want to start looking at roads for milling and resurfacing, so Fs and Ds that we have now. Those comprise about 3.1% of our roadways, like I said, of the 64% we've evaluated. So those numbers are going to change a little bit, but we got about 3.1% of our roads are either an F or a D. Now, what that means is year to year, we mill and resurface between 4.5 and 5.5. So we try to hover a little around 5% of our roadways. Now, 5% of our roadways will put us on a 20-year cycle, and that's where we try to maintain. But keep in mind, it's a moving average because we're always either annexing more property or getting more roads built that we have to own and maintain. So that percentage stays the same, but the number of lane miles that we mill and resurface is going to go up every year. So right now, we're just waiting on the final 36% of our roads to be evaluated, get that information in. And then we're going to be looking at doing all the F roads, most, if not possibly all the D roads, and possibly some of the C roads is kind of what we're looking at doing. Right now, some of the subdivisions that look like they're falling into that DF category right now, Rosemont subdivision, the roads in there, roads around the air base, and Green Tree are some of the roads that are kind of hitting that lower end. So those are some subdivisions we're looking at. There might be some other little roads here and there that are an issue that we're going to hit those as well, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
Before plans start closing, do you think you'll have the remaining 36% done, or are you going to go ahead and start on these ones that are already D and F before the spring?
I want to get, say it's Tuesday, I want to get all the data for those subdivisions, and I know we can do that this week. And then we'll download that information, so next week I'll have at least those subdivisions, and maybe at that point have a discussion with Dave, and maybe just go ahead and pull the trigger on those subdivisions. We'll hand it over to our contractor and have them give us some estimates on those.
And I know we've kind of talked about this, and Dave and I talked about it today. Is our goal to get everything to at least a C?
Yes.
And then if we get there and we still have money in the budget, I think for a lot of us, it's striping is what we need. So is that what our next goal is?
Yes. Yeah, we've been working on some GIS maps that Typically, thermoplastic striping lasts about 5 years. So we took the town, we divided it up into 20% increments. Looking at the cost of restriping each 20% increment is around $250,000 to $300,000 per section. That may have gone up a little bit. We did that evaluation a couple of years ago, so I'm gonna have to kind of look at the numbers again. But yeah, that's an area that we definitely want to focus. I would love to get on a schedule to where it just clockwise, we just hit each 20% section every year, and every 5 years, we just go back around and do it again.
Are there any safety grants out there with striping?
Yes, and that was one of the things that Dennis Molina helped put together as far as the Safe Streets for All grant. We're still waiting to hear back from that, but if we can get that grant, that does include striping.
Okay.
One more comment. I was thinking as you were kind of saying a lot of numbers and a lot of details, obviously. Maybe not fully baked that yet, or maybe not all the way there, but I think this would be great information to have on our website, where
Yes.
people can go to the website, look up their street and see what the rating is, or their subdivision, or their area of town, or something. Because one of the things we hear a lot is people asking, when's my road gonna get paved? Here's the problem I have. Here's a pothole that I found, or whatever. If they can look there and see their road's already identified as a D or an F and is already being considered or being planned to be paved, then it may cut off a lot of frustration for our citizens. So kind of like your tracker that you were already kind of working on for some of our projects, similar for roads. So this data is easily accessible because it's great information.
We just have to make it understandable.
Yeah, well, I think that's why you make it simple, right? Is you've got an A, B, C, D scale, and these are the ones we're going to focus on. Look up your street, and here's your rating, right? We don't need to get into all the, what that means, but this is where you're at. Make it simple.
And the data doesn't just take grade an entire roadway. So it looks at a segment of a roadway. So that, when you talk about making it understandable, that's kind of the challenge that we talked about today, is taking the information that we have. Once we have 100%, we're going to have to manipulate it a little bit. Obviously not the numbers, but I mean, just to put it in a format that's going to make it easy to understand, not just for the public, for me as well. So.
Well, also interpret that so that you're just not getting a segment here, segment there.
Right.
That you interpolate it where it's a continuous project on the road. Because
Absolutely.
you might have a road that has some poor sections and then good sections on it. But I just want to say thank you guys for doing that. This initiative, I think, is going to put us ahead of the curve, and I'm like the mayor. I'm anxious to see if we can do anything before the plants get closed. And the other question, are we integrating this with their Safe Streets for All, I guess, priorities, and how do we integrate those other two studies and the mobility plan?
Sure. So the mobility plan looks more at the long-range, large-scale construction projects of, building roads and that sort of thing.
Safe Streets for All.
But Safe Streets for All, absolutely. And as Tom talked about, now that we have that Safe Streets for All grant, it opens us up, now opens us up for these types of grants. So really looking forward to see if we've got the eligibility this year. I think if we don't get it this year, there'll be plenty of opportunities for that. But regardless, I think the funding strategy that Tom talked about is really good. To your point, when we looked at places like Green Tree as an example, not all the roads in there were an F, but we want to do, we don't want to do this piecemeal. So if the neighborhood needs to get done.
It needs to be a project.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that gets back to you, Mayor, about the striping. Probably identify that Safe Streets for All and this probably identifies striping around town.
Well, I think some people think their road needs to be done, and it's not really the road that needs to be done as much as it is the striping that needs to be done, so.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
Okay, Amber, anything?
No, ma'am.
Dave?
I just got a couple slides. I'll be quick since all right.
You see me glaring?
Yeah. So I just want to recognize it was celebrating Natural Gas Week, and customer service week. So just an outstanding job that our folks there in the gas department do, as well as our customer service representatives. And a huge thank you to both Jenny and Paula, who went above and beyond, making sure that their staff were recognized throughout the week and feeding them and showing them the love. So I just want to thank those two individuals in particular. Also very proud, this is something we talked about a long time ago, but it is finally here, just in time for Veterans Day. Our Parks and Streets Department worked together to find locations, appropriate locations for signage at various locations throughout our parking system. And so here you will now see that we have veteran-only parking. It says reserved because you served. And real happy about this project. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but I know, I think Mr. Sullivan was looking for a parking spot, so now he's got one.
Sent Dave a text earlier this week. I was in Imperial Beach, California, and they have reserved council parking at their city hall for council members. And so I sent it to Dave and said, apparently Imperial Beach values their council members more than Dave does. He responded with something to the effect of, I wasn't worth a spot or something, but this is the next best thing, so.
Is this something that we're going to put out on social media that we're doing? I think it's something that's pretty special.
Certainly.
So where, is it just at our event center or where
No,
else?
we've got this at the event center, Outdoor Adventure Center, Lee Victory Park, Rotary Soccer Park, Smyrna Justice Center, Town Hall, and Cedar Stone.
Just wanted everybody to know where they can see them.
I found out where the other day when I pulled into my favorite parking space, and I said, what's this sign here? And then I said, oops,
Wow, that even makes it
back
better.
out.
They took your spot?
Yeah. Hey, I'm all good with it.
Tell me which one that is. I'm gonna make sure I'm parking it.
Yeah, it's right up front on the concrete. Yeah.
Let's talk about Tom a little bit more tonight. I just want to congratulate Tom. He has been nominated for Transit Champion of the Year by the Transit Alliance of Middle Tennessee. Each year, the Transit Alliance honors individuals and projects shaping the future of mobility in Middle Tennessee. These awards celebrate their visionaries, builders, and advocates who make our communities brighter, more connected, and more sustainable. Tom's leadership and dedication remind us that mobility doesn't stop at the county line. It's what connects us all. He was nominated for the efforts that he had with the Safe Streets for All project, as well as some other things. So congratulations to Tom. He, I think it's in November that there is a reception where he'll find out if he wins, but regardless of whether or not he wins or loses, appreciate what you do.
And our Safe Streets for All was nominated as well.
Correct. Yep.
Jeffrey L.,
I have not been nominated.
but you have a parking spot.
Be a lifetime achievement, so I have nothing.
I'd like to nominate Jeff for Smyrna Town Attorney of the Night.
Oh, nice.
There's no competition, though.
I think it's a 2 hour slot. I might go for like the 6 o'clock hour.
Jerome?
Yes, I have a slide. We visited Heavenly Treats for You. They celebrate 10-year anniversary. Miss Sheila over there, she has, and it's in the Victory House on Enon Springs Road East across from Gregory Mills Park. And I know my wife does her share of shopping there. So it was a great event, had a good turnout with the chamber, and just really appreciate everything they're doing.
Raquel?
Okay, Adopt a Stream Cleanup. Over the past few weeks, several amazing groups have stepped up through the Adopt a Stream and community cleanup programs. The Stewart Creek High School Interact Club adopted a tributary to Rock Springs Branch near I-24 and Sam Riley Parkway interchange, where 14 volunteers collected 18 large bags of litter. The Stewart's Creek Elementary and High School Robotics Clubs teamed up to clean their shared campus along Rocky Fork Creek gathering 22 contractor-sized bags of trash. And additionally, volunteers from Stewartsboro Elementary School cleaned up Pioneer Park, collecting 5 bags of trash, and the Smyrna High service dogs hit Branford Drive, where 30 volunteers removed 40 bags of trash, along with large items like tires, chairs, and even a subwoofer. A huge thank you to all the students, teachers, and volunteers who continue to make a difference. Your hard work and community spirit help keep Smyrna clean, green, and beautiful for everyone. So thank you to all of them. And secondly, we had a great day at the Smyrna Fire Department's open house on this past Sunday. It was wonderful to see so many families come out to learn about fire safety and get an up-close look at the fire trucks. There was something for everyone: the 911 simulator, safety demos, inflatables for kids, and plenty of good food with free hot dogs and popcorn. A big thanks to our firefighters for opening their doors and spending the day with the community. It was a fun, friendly event and a great reminder of how lucky we are to have such dedicated folks serving Smyrna. Thank you to the fire department. And that's all I have.
Good to see Carl back again. We had Depot Days a couple of weekends ago. It was absolutely a beautiful day. Big thank you to everyone who came out to spend the day with us. Support our local businesses. Shop local, Sierra. And then add a special shout out to the vendors, musicians, volunteers, and town staff who worked hard to make it all happen. This is an event which is structured by the Smyrna Independent Merchants Association and worked very well with the Smyrna Parks Department and Police Department, Fire Department, all the different departments from the community really get behind it. And as you can see up there in the top right picture there, it looks like most of the council turned out there and a good time was had by all. My second slide is to love where you live. Help keep Smyrna litter free. Take that one step further and say take advantage of the recycling abilities which are provided to us by the county. One more thing would be to repeat one more time, shop local. And be kind also.
Jerry?
I think I've got a slide as well. This past week during fall break, the Smyrna Outdoor Adventure Center had some special events, and during that time, a big thank you to the Middle Tennessee Electric for stopping by the Adventure Center last week and treating everyone to a free grilled cheese sandwich. So I think those are pretty popular wherever they take them. So we appreciate them stopping by and doing that. So thank you very much. Tom, congratulations. Where'd you go? There he is. Congratulations, Tom. And Chief, thank you to your officers for sharing what they've gone through recently. We appreciate that.
Steve?
I've got a slide for the precursor to the Depot Days. We had the Depot District Car Show. Every year it seems like we have more and more cars show up. This year we expanded behind 101 Front Street, had a line of cars up there as well. Each year we have six winners that we identify. Best in show this year was a 1970 Dodge Charger by Max Wolke. It was a very, very nice car. Definitely an easy pick for best in show. The mayor's pick this year was a 1955 Chevy, Jerry and Josh Graham. I think that might be his, he won something else last year. I don't know if it was mayor's pick last year, but I know he's won mayor's pick once before. American Classic, 1969 Camaro Z28, Wes and Tammy Wooldridge. It seems like every year we have a 1969 Camaro on this list somewhere. Contestant's choice was a 2024 Dodge Charger, Donya Lee Thomas, and most original was a 1966 Oldsmobile by Ron and Lisa Russell. That Oldsmobile was still had the original nylons on it, like 18,000 original miles. It was an amazing car. And then spectator's choice was a Z06 2005 Corvette. I don't think we know whose or got a picture of that. I'm not sure if, oh yeah, that's up there in the right, the blue one in the right. But it's fun. It's a great event. I love seeing the classic cars under the lights there in the Depot District. It's it's a really fun event, and I've said this before, Mike, but we could do this more often. That's fine. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'll have a slide here in just a second. So sometimes things work out to where you get to do something that you thought the mayor was going to get to do, but she called me in because she had, show them your arm. She's had surgery this week. And so I got an opportunity to do something I really enjoyed because my family's a military family, and I was asked to go out and do this proclamation. This is the 9th Infantry Division E Company. It's a reunion celebrated, they celebrated the enduring service and brotherhood of the Vietnam-era Rangers of the 9th Infantry Division's E Company, including the 50th Infantry Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol and the 75th Infantry Rangers. These brave soldiers all served in Vietnam from 1966 to 1970 and continue to honor their shared legacy through reunions like this that they connect with every other year they do this. This year's reunion was hosted in Smyrna, the hometown of Elbert Walden. Mr. Walden lives right over there on Moore Avenue, if you're not familiar with who he is. The units all purchased a commemorative paver engraved with their unit names, and the Walden family added one in Elbert's honor. In recognition of his service, the town of Smyrna proclaimed October 11th, 2025 as Old Sarge Day, and I was happy to be able to go over there and represent the mayor and the council in the town to give this proclamation and read it. I know you went a few days prior to your surgery and met with them, and they are such a great group of people. Fun, too. They were a lot of fun. So thank you for having surgery and letting me get to go do that. Also, I want to say to...
Mr. Waldron may be more commonly known as Cotton.
Yes. A lot of people called him Cotton.
Right.
Yeah. To Chief Goss and all you guys, I wasn't here this weekend, but I know you had a successful open house, and I was enjoying the scenery over in North Carolina for a few days. So sorry I couldn't make it, but I'm glad it went well. To Chief Irvin, you know, what you mentioned about all your officers, that the things that you noted tonight are probably not all they do, but those things are recognized because they did a great job. But more so, there's a lot of people out there doing those kinds of jobs, especially your police officers. So tell that to them. And Tom, congratulations on the nomination. And yes, Carl, we're glad you're back. So one last thing, another military hero of mine, Mr. Gene Hardiman. If you know Gene Hardiman, all of us know Gene. Everybody here knows Gene Hardiman. But Gene he's just a dear friend to me. He's a mentor to me for a lot of years. Gene just turned 97 recently, and he gets around better than I do. So happy birthday to Gene. I love him, and I appreciate that man for a lot of things. Can't say enough good stuff about him. So I don't know if he watches, but I'll call him. So that's all, Mayor.
I want to say about Mr. Walden and the whole group. There were 35 of them that were here, and they were here all week. And they toured Sam Davis home. They were going to go to the National Battlefield, but obviously it was closed because of the shutdown. They did quite a few things, but they were very impressed with the patriotism in which they saw in the town of Smyrna and how that we recognize our veterans. So it was really special. The house I grew up on, Bain Drive, he painted the house I'm currently in. He helped roof the house I was in. So we go back quite a ways. He was part of the coffee drinking group at Crosland Supply every morning. So it was nice to be able to honor him and to see him with his friends and to learn something new about him that I did not know that he had done. So I want to say thank you to Parker from Boy Scout Troop 4 last week, came in to meet. He was earning his first class rank, and one of the requirements was he had to interview an elected official. So I appreciate Parker stopping by. We have a couple of boards and committees that we are needing to fill spots. Planning Commission, we have one member that has had to resign because they've moved out of town, and that will be someone to serve an unexpired term ending in 2026. Municipal IDB Board, we have 3 members to appoint. One will serve an unexpired term ending in 2027, 1 term ending in 2030, and 1 term ending in 2031. The Rutherford County Library System Board of Directors, we have 1 member to serve an unexpired term ending in 2027. If you are interested in any of these boards, if you will please go online and submit an application. Halloween in the Park, it will be our 28th annual Halloween in the Park at Sharp Springs. It will take place on Saturday, October 25th from 3 to 8:30. There'll be free inflatables and trick-or-treating, pie-eating contest and games, a haunted maze by Smyrna High School softball, and over 70 food and craft vendors. From 3 to 5:30, the hay rides are $5, and from 5:30 to 8, they are haunted hay rides and are $5. We will have costume contest for all ages. And this year, I think we're adding pets. We're adding dogs for the costume contest. And vendor registration is open. If you would like to be a vendor, we invite you to register at townofsmyrna.org. So come out and enjoy that great event. Veterans Day 2025, we honor and remember. Please join us for our ceremony that will be on Tuesday, November the 11th at 11 a.m. at the Captain Jeff Coosh USMC Memorial. If there's inclement weather, it'll take place at the Smyrna Event Center. Save the date for Sunday, December 7th, 2025 at 2 p.m. 2 p.m., and it is our 50th annual Christmas parade, and it's going to be called a Vintage Christmas. It'll take place at 2 p.m. on Sunday, December the 7th. There is still room. If you want to participate in the parade, you can register for that on our town website as well. Couple of things. Happy belated birthday to my dad. His birthday was on Thursday the 9th. Actually, he spent the day with me at the hospital getting surgery. So Mom and Daddy both took me. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate those that have called to check on me and brought food and helped me bathe. And Britt is great at some things, but he cannot do a ponytail, let me just tell you. So we're going to have to work on that. But
I called your dad to tell him happy birthday Thursday. And he normally the way he answers my calls, but then I said happy birthday to you, and he said, today's not my birthday. He had me convinced it was not his birthday.
So he was 81 on last Thursday. So happy belated birthday to Daddy. Christy, I'm sorry I did not get you called yesterday, but I hope you had a nice birthday. I missed yesterday's birthday, so I was doing some catching up, but I hope it was a good one. So, Chief and Cameron, sorry I wasn't there. I thought Sunday I would be ready to get back out, and I was just not ready, but I'm sure it was a great event as usual. Also, today is Dave's 1-year anniversary. So we're glad that you've decided to stay, and we hope that you're happy. I think all of us are really happy with how things are going, but we're glad that you and your family have decided to make here home.
Thank you.
So
This does not change the fact that you're still the new town manager.
that's right. That's right. Last thing, I've had quite a few texts tonight during the meeting that there was sound issues on Channel 3 and sound issues throughout the entire meeting. So if we can, and they said there was sound, it was so garbled, you could not understand anything that was said. So I know we've kind of off and on had issues. So if we can try to get that fixed, because I know for a lot of people, they choose to stay home to watch rather than to come to the meeting. So whatever we need to do to have that fixed. Okay, anything else? Nothing else, then we're adjourned.